The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition, or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tom's Radio, the Hoffman Law Show. My name is Jennifer Hoffman. I am the host of the Hoffman Law Show, as well as you know, I am a lawyer and a partner at Hoffman Law. And I have with me today Angela Broccolini. She is a senior associate at Hoffman Law. And we are here to discuss all sorts of topics in law. Every week we have a new guest and we chat about different areas of law that might be of interest to you. And today specifically, I brought Angela on the show because she is an expert in what we call accident benefits. And if you tuned in last week, you would have caught a part of our discussion on accident benefits and the role that they play and the importance of accident benefits for anyone who's been involved in a motor vehicle accident. And today we're going to spend about an hour or so chatting about accident benefits, or ABs as we like to refer to them, with Angela Broccolini. So welcome to the show, Angela.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And Angela, tell us a little bit about what accident benefits are and how can someone who's involved in a motor vehicle accident commence an application for accident benefits?
Okay, so accident benefits, this is an application and the process actually goes through your own insurance company. So a lot of times when people are involved in an accident, they don't quite realize that because everybody sort of thinks about, oh, well, it was the other guy's fault and, you know, I want to sue them. The accident benefits is not about that at all. It's a no fault.
I think we need to get closer to the microphone.
Okay, sorry. It's a no fault insurance scheme. And when you submit an application for accident benefits, you're generally your own insurance company is generally the first place where you would put that application in.
Right. And as far as accident benefits are concerned, it's a no-fault system, correct? So it doesn't matter whether you were the cause of the accident or you were hit by somebody else's negligence, you will still be, in most cases, entitled to accident benefits regardless of whose fault the accident is.
Regardless of who's at fault, in Ontario, everybody and every Ontarian, every single Ontarian has access to accident benefits. And it's irregardless of whether or not you were at fault for the accident.
Okay. And so what would you recommend that our listeners do if they're involved in an accident?
Well, generally what happens when you're involved in an accident, the first thing that sort of injured people their first course of action is to call their insurance company, because many times they've sustained damage to their vehicle. So that's generally the very first phone call that you make. You say, hello, my name is Angela Broccolini. I have been involved in an accident and there's some damage. So they'll take that sort of initial contact. They'll take some information from you and they'll ask, okay, just some details about it. When was it, the date, and so forth. They'll ask if you have any injuries. And if you report that you have sustained injuries, then what they do is they assign the file to a claims advisor. And that claims advisor, the first thing that they will do is send you it's called an application for accident benefit package, and it's probably about a quarter of an inch thick, and it has all kinds of documents inside that you're asked to complete and fill out and so forth. And honestly, in my experience, it's kind of difficult for just a lay person to complete those forms and provide them with all the information. And the easiest and fastest way for that process to occur would be through a lawyer and a lawyer's office.
Okay, so would you recommend that anyone who wants to apply for accident benefits contact a lawyer and get a lawyer to assist them through this process?
I most definitely would have them do that, particularly if it was a very significant accident, and particularly if you're dealing with some significant injuries. The process is quite elaborate and complicated, and it's difficult to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. And we find that a lot with our clients as well. Sometimes we have clients come to us, as you know, in our practice, who have attempted to do this on their own, and they're speaking with their insurance companies, and the adjuster or the claim advisor at the insurance company is very sweet and very nice and seems to want to help these people. And, sometimes they do, but oftentimes we have clients come to us after they've attempted to deal directly with their insurance company, and they realize that it's going nowhere. It's frustrating. They're injured. They're trying to figure out their options, and they're getting cut off from their benefits left, right, and center. And so they come to us at that point sometimes, and we have to go back, look at all the documents, look at what's been submitted, look at what's lacking, and sometimes it just complicates the entire process even more than had we'd been contacted kind of from day one and assisted in the application process from day one. Do you find that that's the case?
Yeah, it's particularly when you're dealing with the different benefits that clients or the claimants, as they're referred to, would be entitled to. That process is sort of really not explained in terms of the medical rehabilitation benefits, attending care benefits. I mean, really at the end of the day, the adjuster's trying to mitigate or lessen their exposure. And, that process is really not communicated effectively. They sort of just send out a package. As I said, it's sort of a quarter of an inch thick, document after document, and you have to fill out this and fill out that, and a lot of things get lost, and you're just really not advised as to what the process is. And sometimes, things do take time, particularly if you're involved in a really bad accident and, you break a leg or you broke an arm, and, you don't have short-term disability through work. You don't have, and what are you going to do to pay your rent? What are you going to do to pay your mortgage? What are you going to do? And, it's difficult. So I would definitely recommend contacting a lawyer first and foremost when that occurs, and the lawyer's office, whether it's the lawyer, their assistants, it's really a team effort, and they try and put that application and all the required documents in order to, sort of assist in getting the various benefits that you'd be entitled to.
So just to recap what we've been talking about, we're talking about accident benefits for anyone who's just tuned in, and that's benefits that are available for anybody in Ontario who's been involved in an accident, in a motor vehicle accident, and those are benefits that are available at the beginning, shortly after you get involved in an accident. Last week we talked about lawsuits or rather 2 weeks ago now, we've talked about lawsuits and suing the other vehicle that's involved in an accident. But that, lawsuits have to go through the court system. They take a long time. accident benefits are available immediately almost after an accident. And it's really important that, of course, after you get into an accident, you get the information that you need. First thing, always seek out medical attention. Get examined by your family doctor, or go to a hospital. Even better if you go to a hospital and get checked out and get x-rays and get all of the examinations done that you need medically, and then contact a lawyer. And we'll discuss more of the different types of benefits that are available after a short commercial break. But again, my name is Jennifer Hoffman. I'm here with Angela Broccolini. We are lawyers at Hoffman Law, and we can be reached at 416-631-0000, extension 1. And of course, you can always reach us at my cell number 647-330-5364 or hoffmanlaw.ca. Now to a quick commercial break.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Good evening and welcome back to the Hoffman Law Show, where every week we dissect and talk about different legal issues that you may come across and that you may need answers for. My name is Jennifer Hoffman. I am your host and principal of Hoffman Law. And today I have with me Angela Broccolini. She is a senior lawyer at our law firm and an expert on all things accident benefits. And we are talking about accident benefits when they are available and the process of ensuring that you receive the benefits that you're entitled to through your insurance. So, Angela, can you tell us a little bit more about the most common benefits that people typically apply for after an accident?
Yeah, so the two most common type benefits that people would apply for, one is medical and rehabilitation benefits. And then the other one would be an income replacement benefit. And then depending on the severity of your injuries, there's also something called an attendant care benefit that's also available to claimants.
And let's start with income replacement benefits. I know we spoke about it last week a little bit, but I think it's a really, really important type of benefit for everybody listening for obvious reasons, because if you're injured and you're not able to return to work, how are you expected to pay your bills? So Angela, tell us a little bit more about what income replacement or IRBs are.
Okay, so IRBs is it's exactly what it is. It's an income replacement benefit. So you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, you sustain some injuries, and you're unable to return to work. You break an arm, you break a leg, you tear a ligament, whatever the case may be, even if it's not that significant of an injury in terms of a broken bone, but for whatever reason, you're unable to return to work. So what happens? The reason why, you know, when we were talking a little bit before is, you know, the importance of getting all the paperwork in is because with an income replacement benefits, there are two components to that benefit that really need to get, well, two forms, I should say, that really need the insurance company requires in order to, one, review whether or not you qualify for it, and if you do, calculate the benefit. And those two forms are, one is called an OCF3 or disability certificate, and that form is completed by a healthcare practitioner, whether it is your family doctor, whether it's the rehabilitation clinic, a physiotherapist, a psychologist. There's various different forms of healthcare professionals that can complete that form, but it is absolutely required in order to initiate that benefit. So
that's an OCF3.
Yes, it's called an OCF3. There's a lot of acronyms in accident benefits. So
Yeah, yeah. So just so our viewers know, or our listeners know, when you first speak with the insurance company, as Angela had pointed out earlier, you're going to receive a package in the mail about, what'd you say? It's about an inch thick?
No, not quite. About a quarter of an inch thick.
A quarter of an inch thick, still a lot of documents, a lot of different forms. One of those forms is going to be what's called an OCF3, and that is the disability form, correct?
That's correct.
And that form has to be filled out by a healthcare professional, be it a physician or someone else who's qualified to fill out an OCF3 and submit it to your insurance company as early in the process as possible. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. You don't want to delay that because...
No, you don't want to delay that at all. And then part of that, when I said, you know, you're the first point of contact, you call your insurance company, I've been involved in an accident, they sort of deal with the property damage, and then they mail out the package. Well, they have to assemble the package, get it processed, mail it to you. You're not getting that package for at least 5 to 7 days after the accident. Then you get it, you have to fill it out, and you know, it's not necessarily rocket science, but there's a lot of different things in there that, you know, you sort of get it and then you say, oh, this has to be completed by my family doctor. So then now you have to make an appointment with the family doctor or make an appointment. So all of these different things takes a lot of time to do. Meanwhile, you're not working, you don't have an income coming in, and your rent is going to be due at the end of the month.
Right. And then you're having to deal with all of this stuff while also being injured.
Exactly.
And trying to figure out how to recover from your injuries. And again, when you contact our firm, when you contact Hoffman Law, this is something that we help and assist with, and we walk you through every single one of those documents. In fact, we will assist you in completing them, and we will submit them on your behalf. And that's why it's so important that you contact a lawyer as early as possible. So, okay, so we've got the OCF3, the disability certificate that needs to be completed by a physician or a healthcare professional. And then I understand that there's a second form, the OCF2, that needs to be completed by the employer.
It's an employer confirmation form or an OCF2, and a portion, the most important part of this form, needs to be completed by your employer. And you know, if you have a good relationship with your employer, it's like a smaller type establishment, then these things are a little bit easier to do. But if you're working for a larger type establishment, good luck trying to get in touch with HR, you know, who completes these. There's, you know, internal protocols as to who could sort of complete these forms for you. And
A lot of red tape.
And again, you know, and sometimes these employers, you know, they don't even, you know, it's not necessarily on their front burner in order, you know, they have other things to do. Now they don't have an employee, somebody is, you know, down, and now they're being asked to complete this form. They're not familiar with the forms. So we, many times, not only help with the client sort of communicate the information that they need with their employer, but sometimes we ourselves pick up the phone and introduce ourselves and say, you know, we sent you a fax yesterday. I understand it's only been a day, but, the client really needs to have this completed right away, and we're very nice. We introduce ourselves and we help them in we fill out much of the form for them. So we try and make it as easy as possible for the employer, because if you give an employer this sort of 2-page or 3-page or 5-page form that they have to complete, do you think they're really going to want to sit there and spend 30 minutes doing that?
It's not necessarily going to be a priority for them until they hear from a lawyer and they understand how important it is to get these forms in early on.
Yeah. And sometimes the employers, because, this is not what they do, and they actually make mistakes on the form. Like I had one client, we were waiting for a really long time to get this OCF form from the employer, and we finally got it. I took a look at it and I'm like, oh, this is wrong. And so, I had to pick up the phone and again, introduce myself. I apologize. And because there was already quite a bit of back and forth going with this employee already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really important to have someone in your corner to help manage this process. So, they complete the OCF3. Now they have the OCF2. We submit it to the insurance company, and oftentimes the insurance company will ask for additional financial information, pay stubs, T4s, anything like that.
Yeah. Sometimes some insurance companies do request additional information. And to be quite honest with you, unless, first of all, we're not dealing with self-employed people. Self-employed people, that's actually a different segment in of its own. Right now, we are strictly talking about an employee.
A T4 employee.
A T4 employee. Because
although income replacement benefits are available, even if you're self-employed, for today's purposes, we're just talking about a T4 employee.
Yes, exactly. For today's purpose, because it's a completely different kettle of fish for self-employed. And it's actually even more complicated where you really need to contact a lawyer. So yeah, and a lot of times, for whatever reason, some insurance companies want to be difficult, and they ask for, you give them the OCF2, you give them the OCF3, you sort of press on them to perform the calculation, and for whatever reason, they want additional information. They want your last year's taxes. They want your pay stubs from the last 4 weeks, or sometimes even ask for 6 months, depending on who you're dealing with. But yeah, so some and they just put up more walls. And quite frankly, I just stopped. Like, I just put them in, honestly, I just put them in their place. Because
well, that's what we need, right?
Yeah, no, I don't stand for that. And I just say, please direct me to the part of the legislation where it requires an insured person to provide them with their last year's tax return or their pay stubs for the past 4 weeks. The only thing that the SABS requires is an OCF3, an OCF2, an OCF1, and you have all three. Please provide it. Failure of which we will contact your superior and request that you be removed from this file. And as soon as I sort of present the alternative that way, they generally sort of do as I ask.
And it's a bit of an unfortunate situation because the average person wouldn't have a clue about any of this. They would not know how to respond. They wouldn't know how to deal with the adjuster. They would just continue giving all the information that they keep getting asked for, delaying these benefits, delaying their rights, and sometimes not getting anything at the end and just being denied outright. So it's definitely helpful to have a lawyer that knows the law inside and out and knows your rights and knows what the insurance companies are obligated to provide in terms of accident benefits. And Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, but most accident benefit policies cap out the income replacement benefits at $400 a week.
That's correct. So a standard policy of insurance in Ontario, the standard policy that every single injured party would be entitled to is, so basically it's 70% of your gross income to a maximum of $400 a week. This is actually the same amount that it's been since accident benefits first came onto the scene in Ontario in 1990, and they have not changed that in now, over 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Or almost
31 years.
Yeah, or almost 30 years.
So 30 years ago, the maximum amount of income replacement benefits you were able to get in Ontario was $400 a week. 30 years later, it's still the same amount.
Yeah.
So they haven't increased it. They haven't touched the numbers. They haven't adjusted it to inflation.
No.
They haven't accounted for the increases in cost of living in Ontario, which is, ridiculous in and of itself. But, and this is important, and I said this last week, I'm going to say this again. I cannot stress enough the importance of getting the additional optional benefits.
Absolutely. 150%. I have all optional benefits for both myself and my husband. Every single neighbor of mine, every single aunt, cousin, uncle, friend, everything.
Yeah.
And I put in the plug at a very, very minimum for optional benefits, which we'll talk about, as well as also the medical rehabilitation. But in my view, a very, very minimum, the first optional benefit that you have to increase is your medical rehabilitation benefit to the $1 million, because currently a standard policy in Ontario is only $65,000, and God forbid you are involved in an accident, a serious accident, that $65,000 will be consumed like that. So what I tell everybody, depending on finances and so forth, your very first optional benefit would be the med rehab. And then, looking at, do you have long-term disability? Do you have short-term disability? Do you have these other things? I mean, I'm almost like an insurance broker. I'm not, but I deal with this on a daily basis, and I deal with families where all their they're used to having, an income of $100,000, and here they are at $400 a week.
Yeah.
And so forth. And there is no STD, and or short-term disability, and there's no long-term disability.
Right. And that's really problematic. And, these additional benefits that Angela and I are discussing are benefits that you purchase at the time that you get your motor vehicle accident insurance. So as Angela said, in Ontario, the standard amount for medical rehabilitation is $65,000, and that's even if you can get the $65,000. It's even lower than that for most people, and we'll get into that. And then $400 a week for income replacement benefits. And when you purchase your insurance, very rarely will the insurance company ask you if you want to purchase additional coverage, additional benefits. And that's because they don't want you to do that, right? It's a very, very tiny difference in the premiums that you're going to pay. But what you get in return for that, if you're ever in a car accident, is a significant increase in benefits.
Yeah, and up until 2016, I never had optional benefits, and the reason for that is because in 2016 there was a lot of different changes in the legislation that sort of reduced the amount of benefits that injured parties were entitled to, and at that time I was working actually for an insurance company, so in the accident benefit department. And then, when they made all these reductions, and the first thing I did was I called up my insurance, and, I said, I'm inquiring about the reduction in med rehab and so forth. And, how much more is it? Because insurance in Ontario is ridiculously expensive. So I'm thinking to myself, great, if I want to protect myself and protect my family, how much is this? Like, I'm already paying an arm and a leg for insurance. How much more is this going to cost me? To my surprise, literally for going from $65,000 of medical rehabilitation to $1 million for both myself and my husband on the two vehicles was an additional $100 a year.
Yeah.
Not a month,
a year.
1 year.
Yeah.
That was less than I remember, like, when the person told me, and I said, "What? No, you don't understand. For both of us, this is $100 a month." She's like, "No, it's gonna be." It was less than actually $100. I think it was like $97 for the extra benefits, and I was like, "Wow." I had no idea myself, and I was at the time I was actually in the industry for it, and most people don't know because they think optional, but I have to pay for it. It's good. Like, as I said, insurance is already pretty expensive in Ontario, and dishing out an extra few $100s a month or a year or whatever the case may be, it's just too much for people's budget. But then when I found out, it was less than $100 for 2 cars, so it was like
For a whole year.
For a whole year, so that was like $50 a month.
And
$50 a year for each car.
No, it's crazy when you actually think about it, and it's concerning that the insurance brokers, or when you call in to buy insurance, they don't really notify people about it. And like I said, it's because they really don't want you to know about that. But obviously, if they said to you that for an extra $100 per year, and it's actually $50 per person on average. I mean, every insurance company is obviously different, and everybody's driving history is different. But either way, we're not talking about a significant increase in the cost of insurance, but what we are talking about is the difference between $65,000 versus $1 million of medical and rehabilitation benefits if you get injured. It's a no-brainer. I think most Ontarians will increase their benefits, and the optional benefits are available both for medical and rehabilitation. You can also increase your income replacement benefits from $400 a week to $1,000 a week. And there's a bunch of other benefits that can be added, or you can add housekeeping, which isn't standard on most policies. It's only available if you purchase the additional coverage. So absolutely, when you're out there buying insurance, next time you need to renew your insurance, or even if you don't need to renew your insurance, pick up the phone, call your insurance company, add these additional benefits if you can afford to do so.
Honestly,
we couldn't recommend it enough.
If there is any takeaway from the listeners out there, the one thing I would highly recommend is to call, and it doesn't matter if you're on renewal or not, call up your broker and ask about the optional benefits. Number one would be the medical rehabilitation. And then, you could figure out on your own in terms of the income replacement benefits, if it's going to suit you. Like, for example, my husband, he's pretty much covered through a lot of things through his work and so forth. So I opted not to get those additional benefits for him, right? Because it just didn't make sense. They still didn't cost very much money, but for us, he wasn't really ever going to use them because of just the formula of how things are calculated. But that's not always the case with people.
Right. And a lot of people don't have things such as long-term disability through work that will cover you for the loss of income, and the increase in income replacement benefits could be pretty meaningful to someone who's not able to return to work. So we're going to go now to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'd like to discuss medical and rehabilitation benefits, what they are, what they do for you, and how you can get them.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Good evening and welcome back to the Hoffman Law Show. I'm your host, Jennifer Hoffman. I'm here today with Angela Broccolini. She is a senior lawyer at Hoffman Law. We both practice in the area of personal injury and disability law. And today we're discussing accident benefits. Angela is the head of the ABs or Accident Benefits Department at Hoffman Law. She can be reached anytime at 416-631-0000. She's extension 4. The other number that you can always contact on us at is 647-330-5364. And we're talking about accident benefits today. We've covered income replacement benefits and how critical it is for everybody listening to call up your insurance company and at least inquire about purchasing additional benefits to top up the very, very, very basic benefits that are available in Ontario. I know something like $65,000 for medical and rehabilitation sounds like a lot of money, but trust us when we tell you it isn't. That money can run out in less than a year for somebody who's very, very critically injured. So let's talk a little bit more about the medical and rehabilitation benefits that are available to Ontarians under the Accident Benefits Scheme.
So, and also just to sort of clarify, when you're saying $65,000 for medical rehabilitation, that actually includes attending care as well. So that is a combination, whether it's all used up with medical, or all with attending care. Generally, in my experience, particularly with clients that sustained pretty significant injuries, that medical rehabilitation is consumed by both the med rehab and the attending care. So the attending care is basically, you would have a personal support worker, if you broke your legs, or you broke your, whatever the case may be, and you need assistance, basically assistance of your activities of daily living, whether it's, going to the washroom, taking a shower, setting up, doing cleaning after you're going to the, taking a bath, assisting with cooking, assisting with grocery shopping, depending on what the severity and your needs. But that is the type of attending care that's available. And a lot of times people say it will never happen to me, but again, God forbid, it does happen.
Yeah, it does happen, and we've seen it happen, and we deal every single day with people that have been very badly injured in accidents, and we'll talk about catastrophic injuries a little bit later, and the benefits go up for people that are catastrophically injured. But I can tell you that someone who needs round-the-clock care is going to run out of all of their benefits probably within 2 to 3 years after an accident. And, if you take a young guy or girl, someone in their 20s, someone in their 30s, someone in their 40s, who needs round-the-clock care, they may need it for the rest of their lives. And the unfortunate reality in Ontario is that those benefits are just not there through our insurance, and that's why it's so important to just get as much coverage as you possibly can, because you never know. You hope to never ever need to access those benefits, but if you do, you want to make sure that you're covered. So like Angela said, that's right. Medical and rehabilitation benefits on a standard policy are $65,000. It does include also the attendant care component. But before you can even access those $65,000 in Ontario, they introduced what's called the minor injury guideline, and that's $3,500. So, Angela, why don't you tell us a little bit about the minor injury guideline, or as we call it in the industry, MIG?
So yeah, you're absolutely right, Jennifer. So every policy of insurance, the standard is the $65,000, but you can't even access that $65,000 unless you demonstrate through medical evidence that you sustained an injury that is not minor. And the easiest way to sort of explain that and understand it, to be quite frankly, is that unless you have broken a bone in an accident, 90% of all injured parties are going to automatically be placed in this category called the minor injury. And with the minor injury, the first level of medical rehabilitation benefits that you are entitled to is actually $2,200. In order to access the additional $1,200, there's an additional step that your treatment provider has to sort of go through. Thankfully, most insurance companies, very, very rarely have I ever seen an insurance company not approve that additional $1,200. But it has happened.
It has happened. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, and so forth. So yeah, so essentially in Ontario, unless you have broken a bone, you are automatically going to be put into the minor injury. And in order to get out of that minor injury, there are quite a few hurdles that need to be done. And to be very honest with you, unless you have a lawyer that can navigate that for you, you will be in that minor injury, and that will be basically the only medical rehabilitation benefits that that your insurance company will pay for. Because in order to get out of that minor injury, there's a few different ways that can occur, but there's a lot of medical evidence that needs to be obtained. And
medical evidence, sometimes medical assessments, and you really need to have someone representing you who is familiar with the system, who knows how to navigate the system. I mean, at Hoffman Law, I know we've had quite a bit of success getting our clients outside of the minor injury guideline, getting them a lot more than the $3,500 that the minor injury guideline allows for, and ensuring that they have access to medical and rehabilitation treatments that they need. And now when we talk about med rehab, we're not talking about services that are covered under OHIP or under the government medical program. We're talking about treatment that is not covered by OHIP. Things such as chiropractic treatment, physiotherapy, massage therapy, psychologists. Some people don't realize that, but under OHIP, you're only covered if you go see a psychiatrist. Those are different from a psychologist. A psychologist is not covered under OHIP, and oftentimes we have to obtain that treatment for our clients, and we need the insurance companies to pay for that, and we ensure that our clients get this. So it's really, really important that you contact a lawyer to assist you, both with the income replacement benefits, with the medical and rehabilitation, and quite frankly, every aspect of accident benefits.
Yeah. So it is The minor injury is an issue that is consistently and constantly litigated. So one thing in terms of, accident benefits, if there is a dispute between the claimant and the insurance company, so for example, if they denied treatment, if they denied the IRBs, or they terminated different things, the process in which you can sort of go through that would be something called the licensing appeal tribunal. Again, complicated, convoluted system, which is sort of a segment in of its own. But really what it is, what I'm trying to explain here, is that there's been so much litigation at the LAT as to, one, what is a minor injury? So we have an abundance of case law out there now that where the judges and the adjudicators have defined, because of course the government didn't really define what these things are. They sort of just gave these broad strokes in terms of what a minor injury is, and there was disputes as to what that was. So there's ample of litigation. So, and really what that means also is that the insurance companies deny things and then they bring it to court, and then you're, as the claimant, for sure is very, very difficult to navigate any sort of dispute. Hands down, you require a lawyer for that. But these are all the different things that sort of, the lawyer on file, like when you do have a file, they keep track of things that have been approved, things that have been denied, or sometimes insurance companies, which they love to do, one in particular, they they approve treatment, but they've slashed the hourly rate of the service provider, citing whatever section of some what is it? It's some FISCO guideline, and so they've decided that they're going to slash it because because they do. There's one insurance company in particular that does that.
Right. And again, just to emphasize how important it is to get a lawyer involved very early on, both, to navigate the system, but also to ensure that while we're dealing with the legality of any denials from the insurance company, that you still have access to the medical treatment that you need. Because oftentimes what happens is people come to us, let's say after a year, when they've been denied treatment that they really, really need, and they just haven't been attending their treatment because the insurance company stopped paying for it. Well, as part of our services, what we do is we've built very good relationships with various treatment providers, with physiotherapists, massage therapists, chiropractors, very reputable healthcare professionals who will continue to treat our clients and give them the treatment that they need while we sort out the issues with the insurance company, while we deal with the legal aspects of the insurance companies. And that really ensures that our clients get the kind of treatment they need on an ongoing basis, that their injuries are being addressed, and that they are moving closer and closer to recovery and being able to move on with their lives. So it's really important that you get a lawyer involved early on. When you call Hoffman Law, you get, Angela and I work together. We work together on, I'd say, most of our files, probably all of our files. And like I said, Angela heads up the accident benefits department. She's an expert in that department. I head up the tort, and we often work together to make sure that our clients are fully represented on every front and have access to medical resources that are so necessary for people who are suffering from injuries caused by a motor vehicle accident. So anytime you need to speak to a lawyer, you've been involved in an MVA, don't hesitate. Call a lawyer, call our law firm, Hoffman Law, 416-631-0000. I'm at extension 1. Angela is at extension 4, and you can also reach us anytime on the cell phone number 647-330-5364. You can also reach us through our website at www.hoffmanlaw.ca, and we'll just go to a quick commercial break. When we get back, we're going to very briefly talk about some of the other benefits that are available under ABs, and things such as attendant care and sometimes housekeeping if you buy the additional benefits. And we'll chat about all of that shortly. Good evening and welcome back to the Hoffman Law Show. I'm your host, Jennifer Hoffman. I am here today with Angela Broccolini. She's a lawyer at Hoffman Law, and she heads up the Accident Benefits Department. Today we're speaking about all things accident benefits and what you should do after you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident. So we talked about benefits such as income replacement. We've spoken about medical rehabilitation. Before the break, I'd mentioned that when you work with our firm, over the years, we've built strong relationship with healthcare providers, and we ensure that you receive the type of medical help and rehabilitation that you need after a motor vehicle accident. But while we were on break, Angela and I were having a bit of a chat about what's called a preferred vendors list that most insurance companies will try to send you to, and you should definitely avoid those. Angela's going to give you a little bit more information about what they are and why insurance companies want you to use them.
Yeah, so as I said, remember earlier in the segment, I said the first thing you do is you contact your insurance company, report the accident, and they ask you if you've been injured. If you report there are injuries, they ask you if you start going to a sort of a rehabilitation clinic yet, and sometimes you have, and sometimes you haven't. If you haven't, they'll try and sell you on something called their preferred vendors. And in my experience, both as a plaintiff lawyer and as a defense lawyer, the preferred vendors, they're supposed to be your treatment providers, but let me tell you, the only thing that they're interested is reducing the exposure for a claim for the insurance company, because they're preferred vendors. They put in the way that they get that sort of clientele for an insurance company. It's a very big deal. It's a very big money maker for them. So they want to make sure that their client, who is not the claimant, their client is the insurance company.
Absolutely.
And hands down, whatever you do not go to a preferred vendor. They will, a lot of times, I had one file that we took over, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the clinical notes and records of the preferred vendor, where the client is repeatedly talking about dizziness and vertigo. She sustained a really bad concussion in a file, and and there's not even a disability certificate on file.
So just so our listeners are clear, the preferred vendors we're referring to are clinics. They're clinics with physiotherapists, chiropractors, people that provide non-OHIP provided medical services. And the insurance companies often work with a handful of clinics that they will try to refer you to, and they want you to go to there because they work directly with those clinics. And obviously, those clinics are in a conflict of interest because they want the business from the insurance company. So they're going to do everything possible to minimize what benefits you receive from the insurance company.
And the number one benefit, one of them is, income replacement benefit with the OCF3. How many files do I get when we're getting over, somebody, there was somewhere, with a clinic, for, without a lawyer, without anything for about, 3, 4, 5 months. And then everything came to a standstill and they're like, well, they stopped treatment. They never called me again. And then I get a copy of the file, and the clinic, the only thing they put in was that initial $2,200. They don't even put in the extra $1,800. There's no disability certificate on file. They're really, you're not the client. You're not their patient. Their client is the insurance company. And do not go with a preferred vendor.
Do not go with a preferred vendor. The insurance company that you call initially may say to you, we recommend this clinic. They'll give you good treatment. And we highly recommend saying, no, thank you. I will find my own clinic. Another really good way to find a clinic is to speak to your family doctor and see if they have a recommendation for you, or the hospital, if the hospital has a recommendation for you. But certainly when you contact us, like I said, we will help find a good, a reputable, a hardworking clinic in and around your area, something that is convenient. We can also assist you with getting to and from the clinic if it's necessary, but we will ensure that whoever you're working with to get the treatments that you need, that you actually get what you need, and that their primary concern is your health and not pleasing an insurance company. Mm-hmm. We cannot stress that enough. Okay, so we don't have too much time left. We have about 5 minutes, and we just wanted also to touch on attendant care benefits, which are available through accident benefits. Angela, can you just give us a very brief overview of what attendant care benefits are and how someone can qualify for them after an accident?
So attendant care benefits, as I sort of briefly discussed before, first of all, it's only available if you have been removed from the minor injury. Okay. So again, that's number one. So going on the assumption that, you broke a leg in an accident. So let's take something easier. So you break a leg, you live on your own, or you're elderly, or whatever the case may be. And you need help, cleaning up. First of all, you need help with your food prep. You need help with the grocery shopping. You need help with cleaning up after you cook, or doing the cooking, because you can't stand on your leg. You can't rely on Uber Eats, or you can't rely, or sometimes you don't have anybody.
What about assistance in the more private things, such as self-care? Taking a shower, going to the toilet.
Yeah, no, exactly. So all of those different things, getting in and out of a shower with a broken leg and a cast, you need to, first of all, my understanding, you sort of have to put like a garbage bag over the cast and so forth, but just sort of getting in and out. Some people don't have a walk-in shower. You have to sort of step over. Well, I mean, that's a pretty dangerous thing to do by yourself. And sometimes you need a personal support worker, a PSW, to help you with those things. So those are different things that are benefits that are available to you that the insurance company will pay for. There's not going to be any out-of-pocket expense on your end. Everything's directly billed between the company providing the PSW work and the insurance company. But in order for any of that to even occur, there is something called an attending care assessment or a Form 1. Because even if you have two broken legs and you clearly cannot do whatever needs to be done, without a Form 1, the insurance company has no obligation. And not only they do not have an obligation, they actually make it a point that they won't pay for any assistance until they have that Form 1.
Right.
Well, you have two broken legs, you're involved in and if it's, a pretty severe accident, sometimes it's not only the broken legs, and you have your spouse or a significant other, or sometimes it's a parent, or you're trying to deal with all of those different things. How do you get a Form 1?
Right.
Who's qualified to do a Form 1? Well, the legislation says only a registered nurse or an occupational therapist is entitled to complete a Form 1. Not even your family doctor is entitled to complete a Form 1. There's very specific rules, and there's a process. And unfortunately, the way that the legislation is and how the insurance companies are and just how everything is, unfortunately, it's very, very difficult to navigate that system without assistance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really, really important. We cannot stress enough how important it is to contact a lawyer earlier on, because that is what we do. We navigate that system for you. We ensure that you have access to the benefits that you need, to the benefits that you're entitled to. And it's really important to do it as early on in the process as possible. If you're really badly injured and you're at a hospital and you've been admitted to the hospital, contact us before you leave the hospital. We will ensure that every single thing is in place for you before you even get home, that all of these assessments, all of these hurdles are crossed and in place before you even leave the hospital. You get home, you don't need to worry about the mountain of medical documents and insurance documents and legal documents that you have to deal with. We will meet you at the hospital. We will make sure that you have everything set up in order to leave the hospital. So, the takeaway messages, I think, from today's segment is call your insurance company and inquire about additional benefits.
Absolutely. Whether you're in an accident or not, 100% call your insurance company. Doesn't matter if it's on renewal. You'll get those additional benefits. They'll do it on a prorated rate, and then upon renewal, it will, however they adjust the system, that's well done. But for sure, hands down, get those optional benefits for medical rehabilitation. $1 million. There's 65,000, 130,000, and then the next level is $1 million. Without a doubt, $1 million. And then after that, you could sort of assess your own living situation and figure out what other benefits you might benefit from for the additional coverage. And then just one last thing, whether you're going with, Hoffman Law, whatever route you take, okay, whether you do it yourself, you go with another company or whatever the case is, you have to be your own advocate.
Yes.
So when you're, quite a few, we get transfer files from, clients that are not happy with for whatever reason at other firms. And, and then I have a very hands-on approach with all of my files. And a lot of times the clients can't even believe. They're like, wow, I was at that firm for 2 years and I spoke to the lawyer once. And here I am, talking to them, not daily, but certainly
fairly regularly.
Very, very regularly. So I am very hands-on in all of my files. And I believe in building a very good, strong relationship with the clients.
And constant communication.
Yeah.
Putting your minds at ease.
Yeah, and I have one client, he's like, oh, so sorry for bugging you again. I said, don't worry about it. That's what I'm here for, right?
Yeah.
So, be your own advocate, whether it's your family doctor, another lawyer, the insurance company. You have to be your own advocate.
Absolutely.
And you have to ask questions, because if you don't, then things fall through the cracks. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's key. And having that constant communication with whoever is assisting you, like Angela said, be it a medical professional, your lawyer, your insurance company, make sure that you follow up and you advocate for yourself, and make sure that there's good communication there. So that's all the time that we have today. Angela, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was incredibly informative, very helpful information. I want to remind our viewers, if you are involved in an accident, motor vehicle accident, we also do all other types of personal injury. We do dog bites, boating accidents, slip and falls, long-term disability. If you're injured at work and you can't work, or you have a medical condition and you can't work, feel free to call us. If you are already in the process of dealing with an insurance company and you need some assistance and guidance, we're here. We're happy to help. You can reach us anytime at 416-631-0000. I'm at extension 1. Angela is at extension 4. Our cell phone, 647-330-5364. You can also reach us through our website anytime. There's a live chat function that automatically comes to me, and you get a lawyer on immediately. The website is www.hoffmanlaw.ca. We're here to answer your questions. And tune in next Wednesday at 5 o'clock for some more law talk. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you.